This is Hello Glass with another glass artist interview. Let's get started. Question number 1. What is your name and are you a glassblower?
I'm Bandhu Dunham and I'm definitely a glassblower.
How long have you been blowing glass and do you consider yourself a master?
I've been working with glass about 36 years, and master is a pretty tricky word. I think master might be a word that people apply to someone else. I don't think one should necessarily apply it to oneself. And there's a couple things I know, but the more you learn, the more you realize that there's so much more to know. You just can't get a handle on it.
Your favorite style or type of glass to create with?
Well, it changes, but lately, the last few years, I've been really into making kinetic sculpture. So moving sculpture, marble machines, steam engines, automata, little figures that move around, stuff like that. And then I still really like making the spheres and sort of web pattern pieces that I've been doing for years, but every now and then I'll get a commission for those, or I'll just get into doing one, and I really find those very satisfying, even though it's something I've been doing for a while.
What state do you call home for your glass shop?
I live in Arizona, Prescott, Arizona.
Do you own or work under a glass brand or an art name?
My studio name is Salusa Glassworks, S-A-L-U-S-A, and that comes from a science fiction book. It's the name of a planet.
Do you make your living solely off glassblowing?
I do, from my glass and also from teaching and the books that I write.
What books are those?
Well, funny you should ask, because I just happen to have copies of them here. Contemporary Lampworking, which many people consider the Bible in the field, partly because it's 2 volumes, although we just came out with volume 3 last year. So these are the books that I do. I've also written a couple others, but these are the how-to glass books that I've done.
If you could blow glass with anyone living, who would that be?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I haven't done a real lot of collaboration. You know, I know in the pipe world, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on, and I've done some collaboration before, and just did a collaboration with Darby, where he did the pipe part and I did a marble run part for that. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that. You know, I've talked to a couple of pipe makers that I'd like to collaborate with. There are certainly, oh man, there's just a lot of people I'd like to work with.
Right. What style or technique of glass is hardest for you?
Well, there's a couple things that are hard. One that I find hardest. One is really perfect blown forms, kind of like Roger Paramore does. I find those very difficult because it's difficult, but also because if I get something that's really close and I see some little flaw, it's like not quite there. And it's weird because you know, in your own work sometimes you see little details that are really not relevant that other people look at and it's just not an issue in the piece. But in your own work you see that, oh, the tube had a scratch on it. You know, the shape is perfect, but the tube had a scratch and it shows a little bit right there. So that's difficult because I get kind of neurotic about it. And then the other thing that's really difficult, which I don't know, it might be making a comeback. I've started seeing it again around, is knit work, you know, the sort of crocheted glass stuff, which typically is used just to make, you know, little tchotchke stuff like wedding cake tops and little wishing wells and stuff like that. And things like that don't really appeal to me so much. But the technique is, it's an interesting way to work with glass and build up a volume with many small forms, you know, the spirals and coils. So it's interesting in that respect, and I've never really pursued it, partly because it's like, this is hard to do. But it seems like there's some possibility for someone to do something with that. I'm not sure what.
Name 2 people that taught or influenced your glass skills.
Oh, wow. Well, one's got to be Harry Olson, who was the old scientific glass blower at Princeton when I was there and worked for the chemistry department. And he let me set up a space in his shop, and before that I had been using soft glass, soda lime glass, and the torch, and he turned me on to borosilicate and gave me a lot of tips and showed me how a scientific shop runs. I don't have really good scientific glass blowing skills. I never really pursued that, but I learned a lot about how a shop works and tools and equipment and stuff from him. Other people who've influenced me a lot, boy, um, I'd have to say Brian Kirkfleet and Shane Farrow were also two real strong influences on me, on their attitude towards their work and how they approach things.
That's awesome. Is there any style or technique of glass that you would or will learn in the future?
Oh, man. I'm sure there is. What it is, I don't quite know. I feel like there's a lot more to be done with the kinetic glass sculpture, and there's always little tricks and techniques that I have to develop for that, for accomplishing certain mechanical motions. So I look forward to doing more of that.
2 glass artists that impress you.
Well, just off the top of my head, Cesare Tofolo is just amazing, because he really embodies this whole tradition of Venetian glass, but he makes something very contemporary. His work is really wonderful. Well, like I mentioned earlier, Roger Paramore, I'm really impressed by him because of how he controls the glass, and his relationship to the material is such that he rides a very fine edge. I guess it's kind of like surfing, although I'm not a surfer. But you ride a certain fine edge, and you go too far, and you're in the water, but you ride that edge, and it's just perfect. And so much of what he does is really like that. It's really wonderful to see.
What style or technique in glass amazed you when you first saw it?
Well, I'd have to say, what's been done in pipes with inside-out work and just the use of color that really blew my mind when I first saw it. Although, some of those techniques were invented by the Germans in the 1800s, but still, what's being done with those and the color and form and stylistically how it's all tied together, it's really great. I've always loved it.
Worst injury you ever got making glass art?
Ooh. I got a pretty nasty cut on my hand from working on the lathe, and there was a jagged edge on a tube, and fortunately the lathe wasn't going very fast, but it was a pretty deep cut down, I don't know, between 2 fingers, and I was lucky it didn't hit a tendon, but it came kind of close.
What do you wish to accomplish in the glass industry?
Well, to leave a mark and to making a living. I kind of, on one level, I like to just go day by day, not to think too much of what I want to do, and things come up. So that's how the books happened, and I feel like the books are, in terms of making a mark, that's been a big thing for me, and there will be more books coming in the future. So that's, if I had to name something, that would probably be it.
How does a glass fan get to see your work?
Well, I've got a couple websites. I've got bandhu.info, it's bandhu.info, which is about more of my unique sculptural work. And then I've got salusaglassworks.com, that's SALUSA glassworks.com. And that's where you can order my books, and I've got class listings and some other stuff on there. And, that's going to feature more of my sort of studio production work. Some of it's on there now, but we're distinguishing the 2 sites that way. I don't make pipes, although I'm into collaborating with people and stuff. But in my studio, we do other gift items and sculptural things and stuff as production. That's what we do. So those 2 sites.
You've got 3 minutes to say your piece to the world. Go for it.
Wow, okay. I think what I want to say about the glass world is, and particularly what I see when I come to events like this, here we're at AGE, there's some work that's really unique and original and cutting edge, and then you see other work that's just kind of, run-of-the-mill stuff that everyone's kind of doing, and that's, maybe just a notch or 2 above imported work that people are copying. And I just really want to encourage people to push their own limits. And I know you've got to do whatever you do to keep the cash flowing. But really, there's a lot. The glass is so infinite. When I see people copy someone else's work, I mean, like you see all these salt knockoffs or whatever, it sort of puzzles me, because it's like people don't, when you're copying someone else's work, it's one thing when you're learning, and you want to learn and copy a technique so you can get that down and add it to your skill set. That's cool. But as far as putting out work, calling it your own, selling it, if you're doing something that someone else is already doing, it kind of tells the world that you don't get it, really, because glass is infinite, and it has a unique way to be expressed and experienced by you, and it's kind of up to you to do that, because no one else is going to. So when you're copying someone else's work and putting it out as if it were your own work, you're just saying, I don't get it. And you're also saying that you're kind of not willing to do what you're here for, So I would really encourage people to just push their own limits and explore and take some risks. And they are risks, and might cost you money to actually do that. There's a really great painter named Robert Henry, and he said that to be an artist, to live the art life, to be an artist, is to have a privilege. It's a privilege for which one must be willing to pay. And that means maybe not making as much money as you might have made under other circumstances. But it's worth it. It's rewarding in other ways, because you get to know that you did what you're here to do. So I really want to encourage people to stretch their limits, take some risks, and explore and learn about other media, other materials besides glass. I think because glass takes a lot of skill and a lot of time invested to get good at it, we tend to just get in this glass world and be in the glass world and not step outside of it. So I think it's really important to be familiar with other art media, other craft media, forms that other people are using, and just broaden your horizons and let all that influence you, and that helps bring out what's uniquely yours. So that's what I would say.
That was awesome. This was Hello Glass with another real artist, glass artist interview. Thank you so much for your time.